Hey, what's going on? Welcome to this second episode here of Jets Talk with the Umbros. Unfortunately, you're only going to get one Umbro out of the two this week. Nick's vocal cords are getting a little, iffy, whether that's COVID or not. I'm just joking. I'm with Matt Fox, though. He's been one of my best friends, though, since probably, I don't know, 1 year old, 2 years old. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you having me on and let me chime in here for a bit.
Beautiful. So, Matt's a big Jets fans too. We go to a lot of games together when, things were normal. And this is kind of like the peak of our conversation a good amount of the time anyway. So I wanted to have Matt come on here and just ask a few questions since he did have so many before we decided to do this week's episode. So with that being said, Matt's going to give me some questions. We'll talk a little bit about Sam Darnold. We'll talk a little bit about, Trevor Lawrence and some of the other college QBs that I happen to like. We'll also talk a little bit about, Jets versus Chargers, and some free agency signings that we'd like to see as well. And Matt, we're going to kick it right off, man. So I'll get you going with the questions.
Yeah, of course, man. So I know we, briefly talked before, but not in detail, of course. But I was thinking about a situation where either we didn't get the number one pick, or if we did, and either way, and not taking Trevor Lawrence, who would you see as some other contender for the Jets to take in that situation, whether it's a quarterback or another skill player?
Yeah. So listen, if the Jets do get the number one overall pick, Nick and I talked last week about, either taking Trevor Lawrence or trading back. And for me, I'm a much bigger advocate of trading back, getting a king's ransom, and just really filling a lot of holes that the Jets do have outside of the quarterback position. If the Jets were to stay at number one and they didn't take a quarterback, I'd say Penei Sewell would be the next best thing. He's one of the generational left tackles coming out of Oregon. We could put him on the right side, keep Mekhi Becton on the left, and just have two maulers on each side of the offensive line for 10 plus years. And it'd be really fun to watch. It'd be a real big boost for the run game, pass protection for whoever's back there, quarterback. And it'd be real easy for, whoever the next coach is to, run their scheme.
Yeah.
You win in the trenches. And, I'm a big believer in that. So I would go with Sewell.
Awesome, man. And I think the next one, that's right. I was talking to you about Greg Williams. Obviously the defense, he obviously has the right attitude and the right kind of, quote unquote spirit, for football and being a defensive coach and everything. But seeing as how many points we've given up this year, and of course the point differential has a lot to do with the offense. I get that. But defense really hasn't been that great. And I know we have a lot of people out, but what do you think really will be the future for him? Depending on how the defense evolves over the next year or two. I can't see him really being long-term for giving up this many points.
Well, I think if Adam Gase goes, he's going to be a package deal with Greg Williams, and they'll both just go together. I think at that point, you just got to clean house with the entire coaching staff. And you're right. Listen, Greg Williams did a lot with a little last year, and the Jets were one of the number one defenses in terms of stopping the run. And then, they still weren't all that great at stopping the pass, even when Jamal Adams was in the backfield. The Jets are just so young on defense. And, when Greg Williams comes out and says, this is what I have to work with, and here's why we're not succeeding as a defense, I get it to a degree, but also there are points in time where, it's not the first time he's warmed out his welcome with an NFL team. It'll probably be the second or third time. He's done it with the Browns. He's done it with the Saints. And some other teams. And, listen, you get caught on camera having a screaming match with your head coach. And then you blame basically the general manager as well as some of the players you have on your defense instead of taking accountability for why they're not playing well. That doesn't spell good culture for me, nor should it for anybody else. So, if Gase goes this season, I would imagine Greg Williams goes this season too. And, I think either way, Greg Williams isn't necessarily the long-term answer at D coordinator.
Gotcha. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate the info or kind of the insight on that. But I keep thinking about, who's going to be the head coach at the Gase, right? Like, what do we, how do we not mess this up again? And there's so many options out there, but I really don't know if we need an offensive guy or a defensive guy. And that's another thing that's really bugging me recently.
So I totally get where you're coming from. Nick and I spoke a little bit on this last week, and, we did talk about offense versus defense, but the further along we got into the conversation, the more head coaches are supposed to establish a culture no matter what side of the ball they specialize in. And you look at the likes of, take Sean McDermott, for example, of the Bills. They got a great culture in place. They've been an improving team since he got there. They've gone from being the joke of the NFL to, a possible playoff, possible Super Bowl contender in the AFC. And he's a defensive-minded head coach, but you have Josh Allen, who's working under a great offensive coordinator in Brian Daboll, who is actually a good candidate in my eyes. I like the way he runs his scheme. I like the way quarterbacks get better with him at the helm. So that actually leads me into Brian Daboll. I think if he's able to kind of take a page out of Sean McDermott's book and bring in some of that hardcore winning culture, winning in the trenches, creative play calling, getting the best out of his players. I think he would be a good option. Obviously, everybody talks about Eric Bieniemy because he's just such an offensive genius from what I keep hearing. And I do have some question marks about him. He's not calling the plays. It's Andy Reid's offense. What exactly is he doing? He could potentially bring a leadership quality to the team. I have seen him in a couple of interviews, and he is somebody I like. But there's some question marks left to be seen there. Everyone's talking about Arthur Smith at the moment, but his offense hasn't looked good in the past few weeks. He's the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. Very Derrick Henry dependent. They're not winning games unless he's getting a bulk of the carries and a bulk of the load on offense. It's very run heavy, very run dependent. Granted, he is getting the very best out of Ryan Tannehill, who many labeled as a bust. But he's actually one of the top game managing quarterbacks in football right now. So he's definitely somebody I would look at. Everyone wants to talk about like Lincoln Riley. I don't think that's going to happen. Head coach of Oklahoma. Everyone likes to speculate about Dabo Swinney, who's Trevor Lawrence's head coach right now at Clemson. That's not happening. The man makes too much money, and he's seeing way too much success at the college level right now to even consider leaving for such a shitty team. And I'm a fan of the Jets. I'm repping today, but I'm just being honest. Joe Brady. He's the offensive coordinator right now for Carolina. He turned Joe Burrow into Joe Burrow while he was at LSU, and he's also putting together a very solid offensive game plan week after week after week with Teddy Bridgewater and the gang over there at Carolina now. So he's a name to pay attention to as well. If I had to pick a favorite, it's hard to say right now. I do like Brian Daboll a lot. I love that Sean McDermott culture, winning culture, getting the best out of his players. For me, that's priority number one. So he'd probably be my favorite. However, when I also look at picking the head coach, Matt, as well as I do that the head coach and the general manager have to be on the same page when it comes to bringing in free agents, the draft. I remember when Geno Smith came on and Rex Ryan didn't want him, but John Idzik did. And, I think there were some rumors with Mike McCagnon not completely being on board or ownership not being on board with picking Sam Darnold.
Right, and that just can't happen. That cannot happen with a professional football team.
Exactly. Like everybody's just got to be on the same page. You got to be all in with all your players. You got to be all in with your coach, all in with your general manager. I think they're all in. The Jets are with Joe Douglas. I like what he's done.
I really hope so because I like him. I think it's ownership at the above all else.
I agree. And ownership is, ownership's a little, I don't want to use too harsh of a word, but ownership is pretty stupid.
Well, look, I'm a Mets fan, man. So I just escaped one hell, and so hopefully this one will be the next.
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of my take on the head coaching search right now. I don't know if you have any other questions for me. What your thoughts are?
No, to be honest, man, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that, normally wouldn't come up, natural conversation. But, like I said, I appreciate you letting me come on here and ask a few questions that I did. But, I'll stick around and, hang out and see what else you got.
Yeah, 100%, Matt. And I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I'm definitely looking forward to chilling with you in the near future.
Of course, man. You got it.
Awesome. All right. Take care, brother. So that was Matt Fox coming in with some good questions. I also had a few more people send me some questions through Instagram. You can actually follow me on at Mike Umbro or Mike_Umbro. Very easy. You can also like and subscribe for the channel as well. Again, our channel is called Jet Flyers. I'm very hyped to get things going. It's the second episode. And yeah, all the support you can give is definitely appreciated. We're going to talk about Sam Darnold now. Obviously, his health is in question yet again for the second or third time this season after taking another hit to the shoulder from the Chiefs. He was unable to go against the Patriots. And even after the bye week this past week, he's not able to go again against the Chargers this week. So I've heard a lot of questions. Is it worth Sam Darnold sitting the year? And my answer at this point in time is I'm unsure. And to be totally honest, Sam still has a lot to prove. Obviously, he hasn't had the year that anybody wanted, including himself. He was turning over the ball, unable to find open receivers. Granted, a lot of that is on the interior offensive line and obviously Adam Gase, who, quite frankly, can't get fired fast enough. So, with Sam Darnold, is it worth it for him to sit out the year? Maybe for his future. If it is going to be decided that he's not going to be on the team anyway, it seems like everybody is under the impression that Sam is a free. They're going to let him go after this year. They're going to trade him. Maybe it is worth it just to stay healthy. But I do think the guy needs to come out and play a few more games and really, extinguish himself as a starting quarterback. He can rip out a game or two, and even with a bad team. But I guess we'll see. It depends on his health at the end of the day. Let's go on to a couple more questions. My buddy, Tom O'Connor did want to come out and ask me, my top 3 free agent signings coming up in 2021 for the Jets. I'm going to break those down pretty quick. I love Allen Robinson. He's a popular choice amongst Jet fans. Obviously, he's a little disgruntled in Chicago, and the dude's still in the prime of his career. I believe he's only 27 years old. Big frame, great route runner, catches pretty much everything, finds ways to get open. I think for whoever is at quarterback, he's a great weapon to have. He'd be my first one. Joe Thuney is going to be my second option. Honestly, the Jets should have did whatever they could to bring him on last year. He did get franchised by the Patriots last year. Obviously, the Jets need a lot of help on the interior offensive line. It's no secret. I think with Joe Thuney coming in at the helm, I do see a little bit of improvement with Mekhi Becton on one side, and then we'll see what happens with the rest of the offensive line in the future. But I think Joe Thuney would be a great piece to solidify the left side of the line. And then the last free agent signing, I'd have to say Matt Judon from the Ravens. He's a really good pass rusher. The Ravens are stocked with pass rushers. Matt Judon has all the skill set. He's got the speed. He's got the power. He can work with Quinnen Williams and actually establish some type of issue on the edge for other quarterbacks with the Jets. They've been lacking an edge presence for a while. So I'm very excited to see, if they can bring in these 3 guys, but, obviously at what cost. We've seen a lot of free agents with the Jets fail in the past. We signed Trumaine Johnson to a crazy deal. We signed CJ Mosley to a deal. Hasn't played since we signed him. I think he played 1 quarter of football in 2 years since we signed him. Avery Williamson, big money linebacker. We just traded him to the Steelers for a 5th round pick. So, listen, at the end of the day, free signings are a gamble, just like the draft. It really depends on the fit. Some guys really just want to get after the money, and, it really depends, but those would be my top 3 guys. And then, I have another buddy of mine. His name's Travis. Great dude. He wants to know when the Jets are going to fire Adam Gase, and I'm not sure. Honestly, if they really wanted him gone after this year, or if they really wanted him gone, they would have done it already. They could have did it after week 4. They could have done it after that loss to the Dolphins. They could have done it after week 9, after that loss to the Patriots. And, they had the bye week, and, I just don't know what ownership is thinking. I can't sit here and say that Joe Douglas, the general manager, wants Adam Gase around. The dude can't coach. We're seeing other teams with good coaches but bad rosters still find a way to pull out a win or two, at least be competitive. Look at Joe Judge. The Giants aren't very good right now, and they're finding ways to improve every single week, and they're squeaking out wins. And a lot of those other games, maybe they should have won, but they've been competitive. So listen, we all know the story with Adam Gase. He'll probably be gone after the year. I would assume Black Monday after that final game of the season. We're going to actually shift gears here and talk a little bit more about some of the other quarterbacks that I like in this year's draft outside of Trevor Lawrence. Should the Jets find a way to maybe not get the number one pick, if they're still sold on quarterback, obviously we'll talk about Justin Fields. Justin Fields is good. I'm not high on Ohio State QBs. I'm just not. I feel like the players around them and the coaching staff just make life really too easy for Ohio State QBs. Receivers are running around wide open. Running backs are consistently finding holes. The offensive line gives them such amazing protection. No matter who they play, it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the ball. But Justin Fields does have an interesting skill set. He's about 6'3". I think he's about 230 or so. Obviously a good running quarterback. He's a good rhythm passer. I don't see the velocity on the ball that other guys are seeing. I don't necessarily see the arm strength there. I don't see the pop like I saw from a Justin Herbert or a, Joe Burrow or a lot of these other guys when it comes to velocity. It's not something I see in Justin Fields, but that's not to say he can't get bigger, faster, stronger. I love his will to win. That's a culture guy. I could see him being a Dak Prescott at best. And obviously, look at how good he made the Cowboys and look at the Cowboys without him. So that's kind of my take on Justin Fields. I'm a big Trey Lance guy. I love Trey Lance. Amazing velocity on the ball. We see him go through progressions. He plays in an offense that's adaptable to pretty much any NFL offense. Obviously dual threat. The dude might not be the biggest. He's 6'2". He looks a lot more like 6'2", 220, but man, he's not afraid to run somebody over, which of course won't fly in the NFL, but that'll come. He's a dual threat. He can run. He makes good reads. I love his deep ball. He'd probably be my number 2 prospect at the moment. And then on top of that, Zach Wilson's a guy out of BYU who I do like. I haven't watched enough tape on him yet, but he has a Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield kind of feel to him. He has a good arm, very accurate, can throw on the run. Doesn't take a lot of snaps behind center. I'm also a little concerned about the competition he's playing against at the moment. He's not playing against a lot of good teams. So, I need to watch a little bit more of him to get a better understanding of like who he is as a quarterback. But, obviously the top 3, Trevor Lawrence is all consensus number 1. Size, skill set, speed. He does throw a lot of 50-50 balls, more than what I'd like to see in college. But when you have a bunch of 6'6" dudes at receiver who run 4.5, it's pretty easy to do so. Justin Fields or Trey Lance is my 2 out of North Dakota State. I just think he has it all. I see a lot of Russell Wilson, a little bit of Patrick Mahomes in him, and I'm very high on him. Justin Fields is my 3 just because he's very talented. You could see it. I just want to see him play against better competition in the college football playoffs before I can even consider him as, my number 2 or even number 1 prospect. So on top of that, that's kind of what I think. I still think the Jets just trade back, get picks, and, build the team from the inside out, build in the trenches. Going on to this week's game. Obviously, the Jets had a bye last week, so it was a little bit of a break for most of us Jets fans out there from a little bit of misery. What I really think about this Jets-Chargers game, a lot of people out there are betting on the Jets to win this game because the Chargers somehow find a way to lose. Doesn't matter who they're playing, doesn't matter what the situation is, and I totally get that. However, I still like the Chargers in this game. I don't see Joe Flacco putting up the same numbers as he did last week. I don't see the running game getting going anymore with Frank Gore. They might put up some points, but listen, Justin Herbert, man, I was wrong about him last year. The Chargers really hit on this guy. He's got great weapons. He throws an amazing deep ball. He can throw, he can run. He finds a way to put up MVP numbers every week. It's unfortunate he's a rookie. He'd probably be in the MVP conversation this year. But my guess is if Justin Herbert continues to play, at the level he's playing at, then there's no reason why the Chargers don't win this game. You can't out lose the losers themselves. And by that, I mean Adam Gase and the Jets. That's my take. I think I like Justin Herbert. Any Charger you have on your fantasy team, I'd start him against the Jets, especially on defense. You know, the Jets are very young, very inexperienced. They have a good line, interior defensive line with Quinnen Williams, John Franklin Myers, and so forth. But man, they don't have the linebackers right now, and their secondary is just putrid. It's one of the worst secondaries I think I've seen from a Jets team or any team in a long time. Also very young, very inexperienced. But, hopefully with all the young guns in there, we'll see them at least run all over the field. I like the Chargers in this game. Now, when it comes to guys I at least want to see well, we're going back to the rookies. I want to see Denzel Mims get more targets. I want to see him continue to improve within the confines of the offense and continue to make plays. I got to see LaMichael Piron more. I don't know why Adam Gase continues to put 37-year-old Frank Gore in at running back. The man is not – I mean, listen, he's still good. It's obvious that when he sees a hole, he can put his foot in the dirt and explode through the hole, and that's great. But we got to get LaMichael Piron some touches. We got to see what we have in him. I don't know if he's a number one running back, but he's definitely, from what I see, a very good complement to whoever else is going to be at running back next year. Now, another guy I really want to see fly around the field is Ashton Davis at safety. The dude's a total stud physically. We just got to see him get more reps and get a little bit more acclimated to the pro game on, at the safety position. There's going to be a lot going on with that Chargers offense. It's going to be very interesting to see. The Chiefs did make him look silly 2 weeks ago, but he came on really strong against New England. Granted, New England's receivers are outside of Jacoby Myers. They're pretty much a joke, and Keel Harry and the gang. And, it's a shame they came out and lost that game too. But that's kind of my take on everything with the Jets. I do appreciate Matt Fox again coming on. I do appreciate, Travis and Tom coming through with some questions as well. Thank you guys. I'll see you soon. This is Mike Umbro. Unfortunately, Nick again was unable to make it today. Go Jets. Again, follow, subscribe. The channel is called Jets Flyers. Obviously, the show is called Jets Talk with the Umbros. And yeah, I'm looking forward to, any questions you guys might have for next week. So I do appreciate you guys, and thanks a lot.